Greetings from Tokyo, my dear friends. This is Daisuke, and I hope all of you are having a really nice day today. To conclude with my series of videos on the works of Akira Kurosawa as they appear in the Criterion Collection, please let me present to you now the seventh and final video that I'd like to do. This time, I'd like to present to you my own personal favorites, ranked, of the films of Akira Kurosawa. So this is just a way to cap off this exploration, if you will, of the films of Akira Kurosawa as they appear in the Criterion Collection. Now, before I go any further, I should say that, as you know, I haven't spoken about the films that were, let's say, written by Kurosawa. There were a number of films for which Kurosawa has received screenplay credit, but I haven't spoken about those. And I haven't spoken about the films as they appear currently on the streaming service, the Criterion channel. So I actually am not so sure exactly what films are available, and so I have to rely on information that's provided to me by other people. For example, I was told that the film Dersu Uzala is being made available on the Criterion channel, which is really great news. Now, I'm not sure as to the quality of the print that's being used for purposes of the streaming service, the Criterion channel. The Laserdisc that I have is, I would say it's a pretty good quality. It's not the greatest quality in the world, to be perfectly honest, but it's good. But I think there might be room for improvement. And so with that in mind, I'm always eager to see what Criterion would make of it if Criterion were ever to release it on a physical media Blu-ray. I understand that the quality of the print that's on the Criterion channel is good, but again, I can't really say for sure because I haven't seen it firsthand. But I'm told it's good, but it's probably, there's also room for improvement there as well. Still, it being made available on the Criterion channel is great news indeed. So hopefully many of you can watch it, and if you are able to watch it, please let me know what you think, because I think it is a very interesting and spectacular work of art. And of course, there are other films that I'm not sure about. Maybe they're on the Criterion channel, I'm not sure. Is Madadayo, for instance, on the Criterion channel? Please let me know if it is. Are there any other films that are not on physical media release that are on the Criterion channel as well? I'd love to know what they are. As you know, the other films directed by him that aren't available, at least the main body of his filmography, are the films Rhapsody in August and The Quiet Duel. So I wonder if those are available on the Criterion channel. If they are, please let me know. If not, then of course that might be something that we can, fingers crossed, hopefully look forward to. Maybe appeal to Criterion to make it available one day if they're indeed able to do so. So I haven't spoken about those, but I have focused obviously primarily on the physical media releases because that's my bread and butter, so to speak. And I hope you've enjoyed what I've had to say. I don't think I've said anything too profound, but and that's because I'm not at all a Kurosawa expert. I don't claim to be a Kurosawa expert, but I do enjoy his works. I have enjoyed watching his films since I was fairly young, and ever since I saw the first Kurosawa film of mine, maybe when I was maybe 12 or 13, something like that, that my life changed and I haven't been the same since. So, and here I am, still talking about Kurosawa even to this day. So what I'd like to do now is I'd like to now go over the films in the collection one more time, just to refresh ourselves and to give you my favorites, starting from let's see, number 28, and then going up all the way to number 1. Again, this is my own personal list. It's not anything that I want to impose on you. This is not something that you have to agree with. This is my own personal favorites list. And so if you have your own list, please feel free to share it with me, and I'd love to exchange ideas with you, and we can disagree. And I think the more disagreement, the more variations on this favorites list, I think the better off we all are, actually. I think it would be really boring world if we all agreed on the same things in the exact same way. And I think that's incredibly true for art, and obviously true for the works of Kurosawa, as great and vast in scope and depth as they are. So that's to say that this is just my own personal list. So please don't fret if it doesn't fit your own viewpoint exactly. But I'd love to share those ideas with you, and I'd love to hear your thoughts, because that's what really excites me about great cinema, is the idea of talking with people and us sharing ideas, and then helping me to grow as a person and as a film lover. So please, I ask you to leave comments and thoughts below with respect to this list. So without further ado, my friends, let me share with you my favorites from number 28 to number 1. Okay, let's start with number 28. And I should say also that I'm going to be including the kind of out-of-print works, and I will also be including the Laserdisc Dersu Uzala, and I will also be including Mada Dayo. So that will total 28. So the only two that aren't included of the main body of his filmography, director filmography, are The Quiet Duel and Rhapsody in August. So I won't be including those, but I will be including everything else, including Dersu Uzala and Mada Dayo. So let's start with number 28. And number 28 is going to be from 1950, and it's this film, Scandal. Now, this is number 28, and that might seem like I hate the film because it's at the very bottom of this list, but please don't misunderstand. I do not hate this film. I think it's a very admirable work. I think it's a great effort. I think that there are moments where I think the mix of the melodrama and the sort of legal drama doesn't quite mesh as well as I would like it to be. The characterizations seem a little bit stretched out, let me put it that way. But still, I think it's a valiant effort. There is obviously here a core of morality and of social critique that's at play, strongly so, very strongly so. And it's a modern critique. And so it's at number 28, but please don't get me wrong. That's not meant to say that it is a bad film. It's just in a group of films that are really stellar. So I have to put one film at number 28, and so I've put Scandal here. It is not a bad film. I urge you to watch it, but there are, I think, certain issues with it that I think maybe prevent it from maybe having me engage with it more, but that's probably more on me than on anything else. But still, I'm going to put Scandal at number 28. Number 27, 1945's Sanshiro Sugata Part 2. So I really like the Sanshiro Sugata films. There are two of them, and the story is really good. I find the first film to be a little bit more engaging, and the second film to be a little bit slightly, it's almost like a comic book in terms of its depictions of good and evil. And while that's fun and engaging, I think it doesn't linger in my mind as strongly as, let's say, the first film, Sanshiro Sugata. There are still some really excellent moments in here, some really wonderfully staged fight scenes, and some really eerie characterizations. And so I think it is very well worth a look. again, I have to put a film at number 27, and that doesn't mean that it's a terrible, it's a good film, but, and with its flaws and all, I still think it is a fun entertainment. So let's put at number 27, Sanshiro Sugata Part 2. Number 26, 1944's The Most Beautiful. This is, I think, a very singularly focused work, which makes it very compelling and very easy to get into. It's a kind of World War II film, but it's a kind of World War II film where the war itself isn't at the forefront. What's at the forefront is the efforts of human beings, in particular these particular women at this particular factory. And therefore, it feels like a film that is from an every time. It's not necessarily focused on the war, although it is a war film in a manner of speaking. That's not to detract from the film, I think. And I think for what it's worth, it has many moments of purely, how shall I put it? It's human drama, I think, pared down to its very essence. We see characters struggle on screen, we feel their struggle, and therefore we sympathize, and therefore the air or the connection between us, the viewer, and the characters on screen becomes one and connected, which I think is a very powerful moment. That being said, I think there are moments of maybe the drama might seem a little bit forced in places, and I don't mean that. I try not to mean that in a negative way, but I think there are times when I think the story can only go so far, and thus it creates, I think, maybe a limited kind of narrative, albeit within that limit we have a very compelling narrative. So I hope that makes sense. So in any event, therefore I would put this at number 26. Again, that sounds low, but I don't mean it to be, and I think it is very much worth your time to watch. So at number 26, let's put The Most Beautiful. Number 25, 1993's Mada Dayo. Mada Dayo is a film that I think is marked by many moments of serene poetic beauty. It's marked by great moments of humor and comedy and warmth and wit and quite a sumptuous celebratory feeling to it, which makes it, I think, such a joy to watch. And so to put it at number 25 again might sound low, but again, please don't get me wrong. I don't mean it to seem negative. This is a very positive film. It is a good film. It is well worth your time. I would put it, however, at number 25 as I have, because I think there are moments where I think it feels like we're getting a lot of payoff. We're getting a lot of the relationship between teacher and students that is looking back, that is celebrating what all the great things that have happened, but we don't necessarily experience that firsthand. We only get the aftermath, so to speak. And so that feels very much like, at least for my money, I'm trying to catch up. I'm playing catch up with the film rather than going along with the festivities. And so I always feel like I would really feel, I feel a little bit left behind because I'm told about the greatness of these people, and yet I don't quite know firsthand what it means. So I find that there's a little bit of distance between me and the film, and so maybe that prevents me from engaging with it fully, which is why I put it here. That being said, as I said earlier, I repeat that there are moments of true poetic beauty here. There are moments of serene, quiet, just magnificence that have to be seen to be believed. They're just unbelievably amazing. And so please watch this if you haven't. Mada Dayo from 1993. This is my number 25. Number 24, 1943's Sanshiro Sugata. This is a tale that I think is so striking in terms of how well defined the characters are. We know exactly what the characters are and what the stakes are. And it's amazing how well it's set up vis-a-vis the visual flourishes and the flair and the types of action that are involved. All of it comes together in this wonderfully tight package of a film that is filled with drama and warmth, and at its core a beautiful, almost naive, quite childish in many ways, but also very charming and strong and good-willed and good-natured hero that is Sanshiro Sugata. So again, number 24 sounds low, but I don't mean it to be, because this is a really exciting film, and it's a film that perhaps when it's over, it might feel like it is not necessarily of as big a consequence as maybe some of Kurosawa's other works. I grant you that. But still, there is movement of human emotion here. There are things that happen to characters that are actually quite profound. And therefore, things can linger long after the film is over in a way that is very haunting and quite powerful. So with that in mind, again, number 24 sounds low, but please, it is not meant to be. This is a very good film, Sanshiro Sugata. Next, number 23, 1945's The Men Who Tread on the Tiger's Tail. This is a short, taut, tight narrative, very simple to follow, quite funny, quite suspenseful. The comedy, I think, might seem a little bit too broad. Maybe it doesn't date well, but I think, on the other hand, the more I think about it, the more I realize that the comedy is something that once one gets used to it, I think one can go along for the ride and really have a good time with it. So I think the comic touches don't detract from the film at all. And there are moments, I think, of real, genuine awesomeness, especially when certain pieces of music combine in order to not only explain narrative points of the story, but also express certain emotions of the characters that would otherwise go unexpressed because of the strong exterior. Also, there are some lovely moments of levity and drinking that I think are really welcome in Kurosawa's oeuvre. It's a really fun time. It's one of those things where you watch a film that has a lot of suspense and a lot of characters, and I love how the characters are not stupid characters. There are some really intelligent moments here by some characters here that are striking, and you can tell that Kurosawa has so much respect for his characters here. So I put this at number 23, but it is a great film, and so please watch it, The Men Who Tread on the Tiger's Tail. Next, number 22, 1947's One Wonderful Sunday. This is a charming film that is filled with both hope and melancholy. It's filled with both youth and helplessness, and it's filled with just effervescence and the harshness of reality all at once. And it's a wonderful thing because it leaves you feeling so charmed and so moved, and also so yearning to see that this couple make it, especially during this very troubled and turbulent time post-war Japan. So I think with those differing tones, we get a film that is quite striking. There are moments of experimental flourish that I think constitute a great level of bravery on the part of Kurosawa, the filmmaker. And as a whole package, this film, I think, has a lot of punch and heart to it. So again, it's number 22, but it really is worth watching. One Wonderful Sunday. Number 21, 1951's The Idiot. This is the film that is a adaptation of Dostoevsky's novel This is a film where it sets the general story points in Hokkaido, the snowy terrain of Hokkaido, and all the melodrama and all the love triangles and relationships and all the drama and hassle and just explosiveness that occurs is all set in this beautifully depicted setting. There's a lot of, how should I put it? There's a lot of flourish, and some people might consider that flourish to be failure, artistic failure on the part of Kurosawa. I would consider those flourishes certain edits that are made, certain wipes, or certain character development, certain ways the narrative shifts from left to right to left again. I think those add to a sense of dizziness and a dizzying effect that is really quite astonishing. You know, there's a lot packed in here, and perhaps too much so. But still, I think the fact that Kurosawa is trying to pack so much in here is it's so admirable, and you can tell things are so packed that it's almost pouring out. It's almost overflowing, and he's just trying to put everything in there. Every little narrative trick that is at his disposal, I think, is at play in this film. And maybe sometimes it might be not as effective as others, but I think for the most part, when it works, it really works. And so if you haven't seen this film, I urge you to give it a chance, because it is, I think, quite a fascinating example of how Kurosawa is developing his technique, especially with respect to adaptations. So, and it's, I think, from my point of view, a very interesting, fascinating film with a lot of over-the-top performances that add to the almost operatic quality that we find here in this film, The Idiot. Next, number 20, 1946, No Regrets for Our Youth. No Regrets for Our Youth is just one of those, I think, marvels of cinema. I think it has at its core the prime, just motivating, earth-shattering, groundbreaking performance by Setsuko Hara in this film. The kind of arc that she goes through here is just astonishing. Absolutely astonishing, and the kind of emotional depths that she has to undergo in order to achieve certain moments here that are, you look at them and you think, my goodness, how is that even possible? It's amazing. It's an amazing thing in an amazing film, and the way that time passes and how things change over the course of just a few years, and how that's depicted in this film is just so heartbreaking. An unforgettable experience. No Regrets for Our Youth. Number 19, this is 1955's I Live in Fear, also known as Record of a Living Being. This is a quirky, dynamic film about nuclear apocalypse, or fears thereof, and how that affects the soul. My goodness, what a biting, sharp film to be made in 1955, right? Cold War era, with a performance by Toshiro Mifune that is just one of those just jaw-dropping things. You have to see it to believe it. It's unbelievable. If I told you about it, you still wouldn't believe it, I'm sure. It's just unbelievable. The transformation that he undergoes into this old man is just amazing. And it's the core of this film, which is about paranoia, which is about the breakdown of family relationships, which is about mistrust, and ultimately it's about the disintegration of the human soul in the midst of this kind of society where human technology is just running out of control. So it has so much bite and so much venom to it that I think it leaves a kind of sour taste in one's mouth after it's over, and I think that's a good thing. It leads to some really compelling moments of high drama indeed. I Live in Fear. Next, number 18, 1990's Dreams. Dreams is just a masterwork of cinematic poetry. There are, I think, moments of sheer delight, moments of horror, moments of bewilderment, moments that I think are so personal that it's almost difficult to penetrate from my point of view. And perhaps that's okay, because I think Kurosawa by this point in his career has earned it. He has a lot of capital to burn by this point in time, and so kudos to him. Good for him for making a film like this that is, I think, quite unique in his filmography. In terms of its presentation, its style, it's quite radical, and I mean that in a very positive way. Dreams is a very radical, almost experimental film. There are moments where he takes such risks with certain actors that he chooses to play certain parts, certain effects that he chooses to employ, certain stories that he tries to suggest in these short segments. It creates almost a lovely patchwork. And while there might seem to be some moments that are arguably stronger than others, I think as a whole it creates this this variety of life and of feeling and emotion that is a unique viewing experience, certainly unique in Kurosawa's filmography, I think. So number 18 is Dreams. Number 17, The Lower Depths. So this is, I think, a sharp drama. It's theatrical in terms of its presentation and style, but the acting performances here are top-notch, tour de force performances with a lot of variety and a lot of surprise, perhaps moments of delight, moments of betrayal, but there are just some moments done with human gestures and emotions that's registered on the face that are marvelous, absolutely marvelous. And we have stories here that I think at their core are wholly magnetic, and just the heart, it just does so much to the heart upon watching this film, and it just shows the depth of Kurosawa's understanding of the human soul in a way that and he can express it in a way that is both entertaining and also very dark. So The Lower Depths is number 17. Number 16, Dodeskaden. Dodeskaden. This comes at a point, 1970, where a lot of things are changing with Kurosawa's career and his life. So I think the fact that this film comes when it does is quite astonishing. You can tell that Kurosawa is pushing the envelope in terms of his own style, his own sensibilities as an artist. And I think he takes many, many risks here that I think deserve to be commended. That being said, I think it is a patchwork of stories. I think some stories work better than others. And I think some stories, when they work, oh boy, do they really work. They work just wonderfully. And they almost carry the movie all the way to the end. I feel like I want to stay with those characters, but then we are transported to other stories. But I don't think that overall it creates a kind of world or a world building that is so singularly Kurosawa. And therefore, it's a film with heart. It is a film with some darkness. Some real dark moments occur, but also there are some light moments and some real life-affirming moments here that make this film, I think, as a whole complete package, something of the map of the human heart that only Kurosawa could paint. So this is number 16, Do desu ka den. Number 15, let's put 1975's Dersu Uzala here. Dersu Uzala is one of those films that you watch and you think, my goodness, how was this ever possible? How could this film have even been filmed? Some of the shots in this film, I think, are just impossible. Impossible. How could it have been done without some kind of special effect? It seems impossible. And so when I watch this film, I feel like I'm watching a miracle unfold before my very eyes. Some of those shots of nature, my goodness. Shots of the sun and the moon, my goodness. And all, I think, there to show some kind of connectivity with humanity, or perhaps vice versa. Humans' relationship with Mother Earth and the environment, and how that can be both lovely and beautiful and exhilarating, and also very harsh and cold and demeaning at the same time. But what is more demeaning, the relationship between man or humanity and his or her environment, or the relationship between human beings and each other? There is a question, and one I think Dersu Uzala provides an answer for. So, my goodness, what a treat indeed. This is number 15, Dersu Uzala. Number 14, 1958's The Hidden Fortress. The Hidden Fortress is, again, number 14. That might seem low, but please don't let the number suggest otherwise, because I think the film is an exciting film, so taut with energy, so alive, and so bubbling with a lot of ideas. It's a very straightforward narrative in many ways, but also in other ways there are nuances that I think figure in quite nicely. And it's just a rousing, exciting entertainment of the highest order, and it's so easy to follow. The characterizations make it so easy to follow, and it's just so easy to engage with. You just turn it on and you fall immediately into this world, and you go along for the ride, and it's just a lot of swordplay and a lot of duels and a lot of suspense and comic relief and the like, and all to do with this kind of escape and trying to get from one place to another. It's at its core this almost elemental type of entertainment, which makes it such a just a high form of cinematic delight. So, The Hidden Fortress, my number 14. Number 13, 1948's Drunken Angel. Drunken Angel is one of those films that is so special. You've got characters that come together, they're just the unlikely duo, and you've got this relationship and friendships that occur, and always under threat. There's always something sinister lurking, bubbling, and we've got this idea of people trying to do good in this world that would otherwise compel people not to do good. And therefore, at its core, we have a really compelling, heartwarming, tragic, and just an exercise in supreme human drama that is Drunken Angel. It is so moving. There are moments here of just, I become speechless just thinking about them. And my heart is so moved. So Drunken Angel is my number 13. My goodness, this is a powerful film. What a powerful film this is, Drunken Angel. Number 12, 1960, The Bad Sleep Well. Oh boy, what a great dark film this is. This is such a dark film. It is a film that has a lot of evil characters, and you have people who are trying to combat the evil. Will they succeed or won't they? That is the question. And therefore, it becomes a compelling drama, something that you want to see to its very end. Will it shock you? Will it surprise you? Who knows? It depends on your sensibilities. But my goodness, there are some super surprises and shocks here that are in store for you if you haven't seen it. It is such a brilliantly moody, eerie piece, and I think there is a lot going for it here. So therefore, I've put this at number 12, The Bad Sleep Well. Number 11 is 1962's Sanjuro. Sanjuro is a film that has the great Mifune, Toshiro Mifune, as the great Tsubaki Sanjuro. And his transformation here is nothing short of epic. His characterization here is nothing short of sublimely epic. His performance towers above everything else, and yet at the same time, his warmth and humanity and his growth is nothing short of astounding. All while there's the flourish of the sword, there's a splash of blood, there are men roaming back and forth, intrigue, kind of a palace intrigue, if you will. There's a plot, kind of a takeover plot, and all at the center of this we have the great Toshiro Mifune, and also the counterbalance, of course, provided by Tatsuya Nakadai. What a great rivalry that's set up between the two characters there. So my number 11, the supremely exciting and philosophically deep Sanjuro. All right, we're getting down to the top 10. So number 10, 1980s, Kagemusha. Kagemusha is an epic film. It is a cold, chilly film. It is a film that has a distant theatrical quality, but at the same time, you break through the curtain, and what do you see but a shimmering, towering performance by the great Tatsuya Nakadai. There's a lot of information about the behind-the-scenes production. It was a very tumultuous production in many ways, and so I think it was marvelous that Kurosawa pulled it off the way that he did. But Kagemusha, my goodness, this is a roller coaster of emotion. So much happens. It takes you from here. By the end of it, you're just so spent of energy, and you realize, you look at your watch and you realize, oh my goodness, there's still an hour left of this film. How can I keep up? But still, it just keeps you entertained and keeps you enthralled, and it shocks you, and it lifts you up and then just tears you down, and lifts you up again and tears you down again, and just repeat that process until it just flourishes in this awe-inspiring climax that I will not mention anything more about. You have to see it in order to experience it firsthand. Kagemusha is one of those masterpieces that you see once and you will never ever forget it. And just the chill, the coolness of this veneer, I think adds to the aspect of it being a kind of a curious marvel, a curious masterpiece in Kurosawa's oeuvre. It is the chilly masterpiece that is Kagemusha, my number 10. Number 9, 1952's Ikiru. Ikiru is a supreme masterpiece about illness, about redemption, about sowing seeds of relationships, of how to forge one's way through the world. What is one's legacy? What can one do to change the world? What is the effort of one man in a society where individuality is not always praised? How much can one man do? What is one man's work worth? All these questions, I think, are at the core of this film. And my goodness, the answers that it poses are, they are just emotionally wrenching, quite involved, very complex. Some of the results and conclusions reached by this film, I think, are more complex than I might initially have realized. There are some nuanced moments that that add further to the human depth that is being achieved in this film. It's amazing the kind of the way in which Kurosawa is depicting the human soul in this film, warts and all, with all the faults and with all the foibles of human nature combined. Here we have it all. This is the human soul personified, if you will, or encapsulated, embodied in a work of art that is the film Ikiru by Akira Kurosawa. Number 8. This is, Number 8, 1949, Stray Dog. Stray Dog is an action masterpiece par excellence. This is a suspense thriller. It's a police thriller. It is also a social critique. It is also like a quasi-documentary of post-war Japan. It is also a kind of a buddy cop drama. It is also a mystery film. And it is supremely a Kurosawa epic. This has it all. It has suspense, it has action, it has pathos, and it has heroism, and it has a dramatic tension that is unparalleled. This is the supreme masterpiece, Stray Dog. The way that heat is depicted in this film, the way that just sheer terror is depicted, the way that suspense is depicted, just using close-ups, just using sounds. This is Kurosawa, and he is an artist that is just unstoppable at this point. Stray Dog is a supreme, supreme masterpiece from Kurosawa. So this is my number 8. Number 7, 1950, Rashomon. One of the greatest films ever made. Simply put, one of the greatest films ever made. And it's at number 7. Maybe it should have been higher. Maybe it should have been at number 2 or number 1. But this is my own personal favorites list. But even if it's not at number 1, I still acknowledge its greatness. It is so important in the context of cinema history. The way in which Kurosawa uses cinema to depict the complexities of the human experience is unparalleled. The human experience is such a rich, complex one, is it not? It is not all happiness. It is not all wine and roses. There is lying. There are betrayals. There are things that happen in human nature. I'm sure there are things that happen in all of us that we are very difficult for us, at least for me anyway, to deal with in terms of how we think about things, how we perceive things. Is our perception real or is it not real? Do we mean for it to be real or not real? Are we intentionally lying to ourselves? All these things are at the very heart of what it is to be human, the experience of being human. And to think about it in those terms makes Rashomon such a miracle of cinema. It's amazing how that kind of direct human experience can be captured so essentially in this film that every time I think about it, I marvel at the miracle aspect of this film. It's like, I don't know how he did. He took a piece of his soul and he just injected it into this film, and it became this phenomena, Rashomon. So this is my number 7 film, a brilliant, brilliant film about the complexities of human experience. Number 6, this is 1965's Redbeard. This is a film that is so intimate, heartbreaking. It's even an action film in some places. It is a human drama. It is a tragedy that is almost like Shakespeare. It is a comedy that's almost like Shakespeare. And it is a medical drama, and it is a teacher-student drama. And it is a supreme example of Mifune and Kurosawa's greatness. It's their last collaboration, but it is truly a great one. And Redbeard, it is an epic film. Again, Kurosawa's mastery of craft and action is just a marvel on the eyes, but always at the same time, at its core, the film deals with a human moral quality, and Kurosawa's humanity is on display here in a way that is truly awe-inspiring. So my number 6 is Redbeard. Number 5, getting down to the top 5. Now this is from 1963. There we go. High and Low. High and Low is, what can I say? It's a film that has it all. It's got humor, it's got suspense, it's got police procedural elements, it has a kidnapping plot, it has a high-speed train element, it's got a kind of a hunt for a criminal element, it's a human drama. It's even got corporate takeover intrigue, and it's so much here. There's so much to chew on. The characterizations are so rich. The cinematography is just so all-encompassing that it is both a technical feat, an artistic triumph, and also an example of just the care with which Kurosawa treats his actors and his characters. The kind of love and respect that he has is truly astounding. So High and Low, it's a complete package of a film, and one that I think can be seen time and time again, and one will never grow tired of it. So High and Low, a supreme suspense masterpiece of the highest order from Akira Kurosawa, my number 5. Number 4, this is 1957's Throne of Blood, in Japanese, Kumo no Sujo. It's, I think, not enough to call this film a miracle of cinema. It certainly is, in my opinion. There is so much more here. It's almost like I'm being given the privilege of watching this greatness unfold before my very eyes every time I see this film. There are moments where I still don't know how they did it. There are some effects here I still don't know how they did it. I look and I see and I still can't figure it out. The shock and horror that this film engenders in my mind will stay with me, I think, to the day that I die. There are some just supremely chilling images in this film that are respectful of Shakespeare, but also riffing off of Shakespeare. And the riff is such a creative riff. It is like almost nothing I've ever seen before. So it is Kurosawa doing Shakespeare, but dare I say it, is Kurosawa doing Shakespeare one better? I don't know. That's for you Kurosawa and Shakespeare scholars to debate. But I think it is a worthy debate to have. And I think that if one were to fall in that debate on the side of Kurosawa bettering Shakespeare, then I certainly wouldn't complain. Throne of Blood is, just simply put, one of those films that you have to see. You just have to see it. If you see it and, well, how should I explain? It's just one of those films that it's just living in me. It's a film that I feel like has always been with me, and it will never leave me. And even when I leave this earth, shuffle off this mortal coil, I would like to think that Throne of Blood will just stay with me in my consciousness and my soul, wherever it will travel, all through eternity. That's how vital and important I think this film is. Throne of Blood, one of the supreme examples of Kurosawa's greatness and creativity and ruthlessness as an artist. Throne of Blood is my number 4. Number 3, 1954's Seven Samurai. Now, maybe some people are now saying, my goodness, this isn't number 1? For shame. And I think you'd be right in saying that, because in many ways this should be my number 1. In many ways this should be my favorite film by Kurosawa ever. And I think on any other given day perhaps it would be. There are just 2 other films that I had to put above Seven Samurai, but still I think it could have been, it's like, what do you call it, a crapshoot? It could have been Seven Samurai on any other day, believe me. Because I've spoken about this film before, but it is probably, it's like the widest map, the widest and deepest map of the human experience in Kurosawa's canon. And arguably, in this period of cinema, it has so many elements that are at play there and that are firing on all cylinders. An action element, a suspense element, a human drama element, a love element, youthful love element, this idea of war heroes, this idea of samurais, and this idea of class and class struggles, and the farmer class and the samurai class, the upper classes and the lower classes, if you will, and the idea of the emerging new Japan society that is coming from this old samurai class system. And so we have just the full richness of the human experience on display in this epic action masterpiece. It's like life enveloped into one film, and when you watch it, you feel exhilarated, you go up, you go down, and Kurosawa is he's just the master manipulator, and I mean that in a positive way. He just knows how to, he knows what button to press at exactly at the right moment in order to create the desired effect within you and the viewer and the mind and the heart. Seven Samurai is my number 3, but please don't get me wrong. It is one of the great films, certainly a contender for perhaps the greatest film ever made, who knows. And I love it, and I will love it forever. I will love this film forever. I've spoken about it many times, and I will continue to speak about it because I love this film. So Seven Samurai, my number 3. Number 2 is 1961's Yojimbo. Now, I have to admit that my choice here might be a little bit too personal, because this was the first film by Akira Kurosawa I ever saw. Now, that goes a long way, I think, in my feelings towards this film. And perhaps from your point of view, that might make my choice of this film as my number 2 pick a little bit too slanted. But it's my list, so that's how I feel. I can't help how I feel. That's just my nature. And therefore, I cannot help but love this film. The performance by Toshiro Mifune is perhaps my most favorite performance by an actor ever. The exciting swordplay is just, I love it. I love watching the blood and the swordplay flourishes and all the humor and horror that is just engendered at the same time. It is just a rush of disgust and thrill that I feel. And it's also a grungy kind of samurai flick. It's very dirty at times. It's very muddy. It's not a clean, pristine look, and I love that feel. And it's so emblematic of the characters too. They are down and dirty. They are rotten to the core. They are evil. They are backstabbing people. And you have thrust into this world Kuwabatake Sanjuro, the nameless samurai warrior, and he comes in and he's just towering over the landscape. He is like a force of nature. Mifune here is a force of nature, and to watch him in action is just a feast for the eyes, and just stimulates the soul in a way that I will cherish forever. Yojimbo was the first film I saw by Kurosawa, and I will never forget that experience. And it gave me such a thrill and a rush, and I'm so grateful to this film that for me, it will remain up there, the top 1, 2, 3 films, favorite films of Kurosawa, in my own personal opinion. So now it is my number 2. And again, on any other given day, could have been number 1, but for now it is number 2. I love this film to bits. I really love this film to bits. So, Yojimbo. "1985, Ran" is my number 1 favorite Kurosawa film. This is the supreme epic. Again, we have Kurosawa adapting Shakespeare, but then turning it on its head in many aspects. Those of you who know King Lear probably know what I'm talking about. He doesn't take aspects of every aspect of King Lear directly into this film. He turns certain things on its head in a way that is oh so Kurosawa. He takes chances, he takes risks, and they all pay off in a genius way. Kurosawa is a genius here, and the choices that he employs, the actors that he uses, my goodness, oh my goodness, I have to give kudos to the great actress, the great actress, Mieko Harada. Mieko Harada here, her performance is one for the ages. You know, I was speaking about Mifune before in Yojimbo, how he was like a force of nature. Well, Mieko Harada here in this film, she is just like a bolt of lightning that is frenzied within the frame. And the way that she erupts, it's like a volcano that is not just erupting lava. No, it's just erupting anger and venom and blood and sheer force of will. Ran is an embodiment of that. Mieko Harada's performance is just it's the perfect way to supplement this film, Ran. I will never tire of this film, I think. This film is a film that I love dearly. I am shocked by it. Every time I see it, I cringe. My skin crawls. I feel cold. I feel desolate. I feel lost. I feel like there's no hope. And I want to believe that there is hope, but Ron is just cutting me down at every turn. And every time I watch it, it challenges me. It forces me to think in a way that I'm so uncomfortable with, and I love that. At the same time, it is beautiful. The imagery is astounding. It is poetry in motion. The colors are rich and ripe, and they are interacting with each other and counterbalancing each other and destroying each other and exploding in this moment of rage and energy and, oh yes, chaos. So, my number one film. I cannot ever tire of this film, Ron. For me, this is the film. This is the film that speaks to me the most in Kurosawa's canon. And I'm so proud. I'm so proud to say that I'm able to call this film my favorite film by Kurosawa. I'm so honored to say that I had the distinct good fortune to have experienced this film. I feel so lucky to have been able to have seen this film in the ways that I have and experienced it the ways that I have. I think without this film, I think my life would be totally different. And if that sounds like hyperbole, I'm very sorry, but I really believe that, because this film has affected me in a way. It has changed my perceptions of art. It has really affected the way in which I view cinema. And I look forward to the day, one day, where I can speak about this film specifically and with spoilers and talk about the themes, because they run through the film so richly, and thus they run through me and my blood, and thus I cannot escape its effects, and I don't think I ever will be able to escape, and I don't think I want to, because the rush of just pure thrill and the emotional and intellectual challenges that it poses to me makes this film undeniably a masterpiece, and one that I will just cherish and treasure to my dying days. Ron, 1985, my number one favorite film by Akira Kurosawa. Okay, my friends, that's it. So thank you very much. Thank you very much indeed for your patience and your time. I hope it was interesting. If it wasn't, I apologize. Again, I have a certain way of expressing myself, and so maybe you have tired of that. So if that's the case, then I really apologize. But I don't want that to detract in any way from the power and beauty that is the art of Akira Kurosawa. The Criterion Collection has really treated Kurosawa very well. It really loves Kurosawa, and I am so grateful to the Criterion Collection for giving us this opportunity to explore Kurosawa in these ways. I hope that this relationship, if you will, between the works of Kurosawa and the Criterion Collection will continue for days and weeks and months and years and through eternity, because thanks to the Criterion Collection, I think we are all able, as members of the film fan community, to explore the works of Kurosawa in a rich, rewarding, and engaging way. And so I really want to thank the Criterion Collection for at least giving me, anyway, that great opportunity to do so, because Kurosawa is, again, a filmmaker that means so much to me. And with Criterion, I am able to enjoy his works in a way that I don't think I would have otherwise. So thank you very much to Criterion. And thank you very much, my friends, for watching. If you have any comments or questions about Kurosawa's works or anything like that, please let me know in the comment section below. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Otherwise, my friends, thank you very much, and goodbye. And maybe in the words of Toshiro Mifune in Yojimbo, Abayo. So until we meet again, my friends.